Welcome back to Daniel Tells Stories, where the dark meets real life. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because some stories deserve to be remembered and others, they demand to be told. The story I'd like to tell you now is one that happened to me when I was a little kid in Liberia, when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And it's not a difficult story, it's just a story about going to bed. The story I'm going to tell you basically is a compilation of things that happened at night, so I'm going to put them all together in one story. In Liberia, basically, we lived in Pleebo. Pleebo is about 500 miles away from the capital city of Monrovia. This meant that we did not have electricity. We had a generator that we would turn on for 3 hours a day, and the rest of the time it was just normal. No electricity at all, just lantern light. Every night we would get ready and go to bed, hear the crickets and the bugs outside, and the mosquitoes, of course, because of all the bad malaria mosquitoes going on there. Usually it would rain in the afternoon, but sometimes at night. So we're getting ready to go to bed. We come into the room, we all have mosquito nets. It's me and my brother and sister. We all had mosquito nets, and we're putting our mosquito nets down, spraying the room with the elephant raid everywhere to make sure that there's no bugs anywhere. And suddenly a black mamba appears in the top of the mosquito net. Of course, we scream, my mom screams, and my dad comes running in with a machete to kill the black mamba. Finally, after all that escapade, we settled down for the night. As we settled down for the night, I remember my favorite thing that actually got me started into the career I am in now. We'd hear the distant drums and singing out in the forest. Sometimes you would see lights out in the forest. Sometimes you would hear just the drumming. Sometimes you'd hear just the animals or the geckos calling. But this time I heard what we called the Hallelujah Singers, which was 3-part harmony, but people singing out in the jungle, sometimes close to our house and sometimes far away. You have to realize that we lived in a house that was an old airport house. It was basically a house where an airline would come and they would land these small planes going uphill and take off going downhill. Extremely, extremely dangerous. To have a yard, we had to cut back the jungle every few weeks. So we had really no yard. So literally, we were living in a house with the jungle all around us. So at night, here we are, going to sleep, listening to this, and these singing and the drums playing and all the rest of it, not realizing what was actually happening. Out in the jungle, with this 3-part singing, and you would hear them go up to a high crescendo and chorus, was that they were alive. Somebody, and the liver for strength, and different parts for the fear, and then skin the person alive. The singing was to cover up, and the drum playing was to cover up the screams and the cries of this person who had nothing to do with this, but just was there. Every month, they would actually announce, we're looking for this type of person, for this type of thing, and all this kind of stuff. I didn't know this, my parents knew this. And so they would do this every month, and every month, without fail, out in the jungle, every night you would hear, well, not every night, but most nights, you would hear the jungle drum begin to play, then the singing began. I think this is a very important story to tell, because basically it reminds you that even in the simplest things, like for me, it was just something where I would listen to and I would fall asleep to this wonderful music and this great singing, and got me into African rhythms and drumming. But for most people, it was the most dangerous thing they've ever seen. Thank you for listening to another Daniel Tells Stories, where the dark meets the real. This was real and was very dark. See you next time.